There's a law older than time itself. What you throw into the world, it returns with interest. Those who tossed thorns into your path are now walking barefoot through their own intentions. Call it cosmic balance, karmic weight, or just life doing what it always does, collecting receipts. No scheme escapes it, no ego walks away clean. You see, chosen one, the universe isn't chaotic, it's calculated. It watches, it waits, and then it balances. The ones who tried to bend your spine now find themselves buckling under the pressure they created. Because when someone tries to bury a seed, they forget that growth is its revenge. You were never chaotic. You were aligned. They called your silence weakness, but it was the silence of thunder just before the sky splits open. While they were busy mocking your patience, they forgot that real storms don't announce themselves. They arrive and they change the entire atmosphere. Let this burn in their minds. The same quiet soul they tried to corner has now become the force they can't predict or control. And if you're here now, it's not by accident, it's by design. You're not like them. You're not loud for attention. You're loud in results. Your evolution haunts them. Your presence presses against their insecurities like gravity, heavy, unrelenting, and undeniable. So if you're ready to keep rising while their bitterness drowns them, do what real forces do. Move smart, move silent, and strike through progress. Like this, subscribe, spread this message to others who were never meant to fit in. This is the rise they never saw coming. Before we dive into the truth they don't want you to hear, take a second and ground yourself, because what you're about to feel isn't just a message, it's confirmation. The whispers about you, they're not random. The energy around your name, it's shifting rooms. But this isn't about rumors, it's about realization. If you've ever felt like your mind made others uncomfortable, this video was sent to remind you exactly who you are. Hit that like button, subscribe to connect with more chosen ones, and drop the number 99 in the comments to anchor this truth into your energy field. The more you engage, the louder this frequency gets. And trust me, they already hear it. You've entered a space where intelligence isn't questioned, it's respected. Now stay with me, because what's coming next will explain exactly why they gossip and why they should be careful. Number 1. Stop shrinking. Your confidence is the earthquake they pretend isn't happening. They never expected your silence to become strategy. They misread the pauses, mistook your stillness for confusion, and now they can't process the shift. You didn't just grow, you evolved in a direction they can't chart, and that's exactly why their whispers are growing louder. Let's get this straight. The gossip isn't random. It's recognition disguised as rumor, the sideways glances, the sudden tension when you speak. They're not reacting to arrogance. They're responding to power, a quiet, calibrated force that doesn't flinch under pressure, doesn't beg to be understood, and no longer seeks permission to exist. They're used to speed. You chose precision. They operate in reaction. You move with intention, and it unsettles them deeply. Because while they fumble for attention, you command respect without saying a word. You don't just speak, you aim. Every sentence is laced with clarity, every silence loaded with understanding. That's what they can't handle. It's not that you're too confident, it's that your confidence is rooted in something they don't have access to. Depth. You don't just know things. You read between words, hear what isn't said, and decode the energy most people ignore. That's not just intellect, that's intuitive warfare, and you've mastered it without ever needing a stage. They used to laugh at your quiet. Now they mimic your poise. They used to ignore your thoughts. Now they copy your language. But here's the truth. Imitation is never admiration, it's defense. You've become unreadable. You carry yourself like someone who knows their value and doesn't have time to prove it. And for people who rely on chaos, on validation, on shallow games, that's terrifying. What they feel around you isn't ego, it's exposure. You're not operating from the surface anymore. You've tapped into the depths of yourself, of others, of life, and you move like it. That level of understanding can't be taught in books or boardrooms. It's earned in shadows, in late nights where you battled doubt, in silent moments where you chose discipline over distraction. They try to twist that kind of brilliance into coldness, call your boundaries arrogance, label your clarity as pride. Why? Because when people can't predict you, they can't control you. And when they can't control you, they fear you. But you no longer shrink to make others comfortable. You've realized that the very thing they try to demonize, your confidence, your clarity, your stillness, is your crown. So let them whisper. Let them wonder how the same person they once dismissed became the storm they can't ignore. You didn't just change, you stopped pretending to be small, and that chosen one is what's shaking their world. Number 2. Stop feeling guilty for rising. Their bitterness is just proof you outgrew their cage. Chosen one, the tension you feel when you walk into certain rooms isn't in your head, it's in their hearts. Bitterness is their unspoken confession. It says, I never thought you'd rise without my help, but here you are, elevated, unbothered, and completely out of their reach. You're not who you used to be, and that's exactly what's causing the shift. The people who once thrived when you doubted yourself are now suffocating in your certainty. Your confidence, it's no longer fragile, it's refined. And the very people who used to cheer for your smallness now flinch at your greatness. Here's the truth, they liked you better confused, easier to control, quieter, softer, but the version of you that accepted breadcrumbs, that version doesn't live here anymore. You stopped asking for a seat. Now you build your own table. So why the guilt? Why the hesitation? Stop feeling bad for the growth they refused to match. You weren't made to shrink just to fit inside their comfort zone. You were meant to expand, to stretch beyond their projections, past their assumptions, and into your full brilliance. Their discomfort is not your responsibility. Their bitterness is not your burden. If your success makes their ego ache, let it. You didn't break their hearts. You broke their illusion of control. This isn't arrogance. This is alignment. And the gossip they're spreading, it's just proof they're still trying to process how you became everything they never believed you'd be. Let them talk. You've got more rising to do. Number 3. Quit playing small. You're not smart anymore. You're the mastermind breaking their blueprint. They thought you were just another smart one, quick thinker, deep reader, maybe even someone they could tap into when their own plans started to crumble. But now, they've gone silent. Not because they stopped watching, but because they just realized you've become the one writing the rules they thought they understood. You're not playing their game anymore. You're engineering the board. This is where it shifts. You're no longer just intelligent. You've crossed into something they don't have a word for. Strategy, vision, foresight. You're building in dimensions they don't even see. While they move for applause, you move for alignment. While they guess, you calculate. And that's terrifying for people who rely on confusion to maintain control. The real gossip now? It's not about your attitude. It's about your moves. They're whispering because they've seen it firsthand. You anticipate before they react. You decode patterns like a grandmaster reads a chessboard. You're 5 steps ahead with a calm that rattles their chaos. You don't just solve problems anymore. You dismantle them. Quietly, precisely, completely. You're no longer trying to prove your worth. You've stepped into the role of architect, and that blueprint they built to trap others. You found the exit, and now you're designing your own structures. This is what they didn't see coming. The silent one becoming the strategist, the overthinker turning into the oracle, the underestimated turning into the untouchable. So chosen one, stop dimming. Stop over-explaining. The time for proving is over. They didn't lose track of you. You just moved beyond the edge of their understanding. And now, you are the blueprint. Number 4. Guard your mind. They're not debating you. They're desperately trying to breach your fortress. Chosen one, let's make something clear. Your mind is no longer a room with an open door. It's a fortress now, and they're not knocking out of curiosity. They're testing for weaknesses. They aren't disagreeing to understand. They're prying to penetrate the walls you've built through pain, silence, and unshakable clarity. They're not confused by your intelligence. They're intimidated by it. You don't just know, you discern. You don't just hear words, you translate intention. That kind of perception makes manipulators nervous. You can spot the lie before it's spoken. You can sense the shift in energy before a word is said. That's not paranoia. That's evolution. So guard it. You don't owe access to anyone just because they smile. Some are only smiling to lower your defenses. They want to see what's behind that calm stare, that strategic silence, that mind that doesn't react but recalibrates. You are no longer reacting to chaos. You're watching it self-destruct. This is what they fear, that you've become immune. Immune to their guilt trips, their emotional traps, their intellectual bait. They can't win an argument against someone who no longer plays. They can't twist your thoughts when you've already seen the string in their logic. So let them call you cold. Let them say you've changed. The truth is, you've fortified. Your mind is no longer their playground. It's sacred ground now, and anyone who steps into it without pure intention, they won't get far, because you're not debating anymore. You're defending the empire you've built within. Number 5. Protect your energy. You're pulling souls, but not all of them come with good intentions. Chosen one, your energy isn't just attractive, it's magnetic. You've become a living frequency, and people feel it before they even understand it. You walk into a room, and suddenly the air shifts. Conversations pause, eyes find you. And not because you're loud, but because your presence says what words never could. I know who I am. Don't play with me. But here's what you need to remember. Not everyone drawn to your light is coming to build. Some come to feed. You're radiating something rare, calm in a chaotic world, direction in a sea of distraction, focus where most are flailing. And that level of centeredness pulls everything, the healed and the hungry, the real and the leech. They're showing up in your space not just because they admire you, but because your energy feels like the thing they've been missing. The problem is, they want to taste your peace without earning it. They want access to your mind without honoring your spirit. Some are pretending to love you, when what they really love is the way they feel near you. But you didn't come this far to become someone's emotional battery pack. So here's your warning. Chosen one. Just because they're drawn to you doesn't mean they deserve you. Keep your energy sacred. Guard your space like it's your soul, because it is. You weren't sent to save every wandering soul. Some are here to distract, others are here to drain. And your job? Discern who's who without apology, because when you start pulling souls, the fakes arrive first. But you already knew that. That's why you're chosen. Number 6. Don't reopen the gate. The ones tripping over your boundaries never respected them. Chosen one, they never thought you'd draw the line, and they definitely didn't expect you to hold it. Now that you've shut the door they used to walk through like they owned it, they're stumbling, not because you were cruel, but because you stopped explaining, stopped justifying, and finally chose your peace over their patterns. They're not tripping over your silence, they're tripping over the access they no longer have. You used to lower the drawbridge for anyone who said the right words. You gave second chances like candy. You thought love meant tolerance and patience meant pain. But not anymore. Now, Your boundary isn't a suggestion, it's law, engraved in stone, sealed with wisdom, protected by experience. And the moment you stopped playing gatekeeper for people who brought only chaos, your life elevated, your focus sharpened, your mind got quiet. That wasn't rejection, that was revelation. So when they come back saying, "I've changed," remember this: if they respected your boundary, they never would have crossed it to begin with. They're not sorry they hurt you, they're sorry they can't reach you anymore. And that's the power of awakening. You no longer chase closure. You no longer bleed for people who never brought you bandages. You don't swing the door open just because someone knocks loud enough. Let them knock. Let them rant. Let them call you cold. You're not cold. You're clear. You've built a new reality, one that runs on truth, not trauma. You don't owe them access. You owe yourself protection. So, chosen one, keep the gate closed. The ones trying to get back in never respected what was inside. And this time, they'll have to watch from outside, where they put themselves. Number 7. Fortify your peace. They're not uncomfortable with you. They're addicted to your old chaos. They say your energy feels different now. But let's tell the truth. They're not disturbed by who you've become. They're unsettled because they no longer recognize the version of you they could control. Chosen one, your peace used to be a broken door anyone could walk through. Now, it's a fortress with walls built from discipline, clarity, and boundaries. And the same ones who used to take up space in your chaos are now standing outside, confused, offended, and uncomfortable. You see, people weren't addicted to you. They were addicted to the unhealed version of you. The one who over-explained, overextended, and overlooked every red flag just to keep the peace. Now that you've become peace, they can't stand it, because it reflects their chaos too clearly. Your home feels different. Your silence hits harder. Your presence no longer entertains dysfunction. And that, chosen one, is what's making them twitch. You stopped being the sponge for everyone's emotional mess. And they don't know how to relate to the you who doesn't absorb pain anymore. Here's the truth. Your calm is not a comfort to those who were only comfortable when you were anxious, distracted, and unsure of your worth. You've removed the access, and now they're calling you distant, cold, changed. But what they're really saying is, you stopped bleeding for people who wouldn't even offer a bandage. Let them be uncomfortable. That discomfort is the echo of a system that used to feed off your imbalance. Keep your peace sacred. Keep your space pure. You're not hard to love. You're just no longer available to be used. Number 8. Stop explaining the truth. Your alignment makes their lies expire on impact. Chosen one, they're not confused by your truth. They're exposed by it. You've entered a space where your clarity doesn't just shine, it burns through illusion. And the ones still hiding behind masks are scrambling, not because you've changed, but because you've aligned. You no longer play defense. You don't over-explain. You don't shrink to soften the truth. Why? Because when you're in alignment, the lies around you suffocate. They can't breathe where authenticity lives. You walk into a room and energy shifts. Not because you speak louder, but because your frequency doesn't flinch. You see through the performance. You hear the dishonesty in carefully chosen words, and they know it. That's why their narratives are falling apart in real time. What used to manipulate you now sounds ridiculous. What once made you question yourself now reveals them instantly. That's not arrogance. That's evolved perception. People used to get away with twisting your intentions. Now their tricks unravel the second they touch your energy. Why? Because your soul no longer seeks approval. It recognizes truth on contact. And when you're aligned with that level of awareness, lies don't just collapse. They expire the moment they reach your space. Let them talk, let them question. But never again feel the need to explain yourself to people who benefit from misunderstanding you. You were never here to convince, only to confirm. And now that you've aligned with your purpose, their illusions don't stand a chance. So hold your truth like a sword, say less, watch more, because while they play in shadows, you walk in light, and light always reveals everything. They're not gossiping because you're wrong, they're whispering because you were right all along. Number 9. Own your fire. You didn't just heal, you survived what they pretend doesn't hurt. Chosen one, they talk about healing like it's soft, like it's yoga mats and journal prompts. But you know the truth. Healing isn't gentle, it's brutal, it's violent. It's staring your own shadow in the face and refusing to flinch. You didn't just get better, you bled in silence. You shattered illusions. You dragged yourself out of places most people don't even admit they're stuck in. And now they see your light and pretend it's natural, effortless. But they didn't witness the internal war that lit it. They weren't there for the nights you felt like giving up. They didn't feel the weight of the betrayals, the loneliness, the mental chaos you had to untangle thread by thread. They just see the result and gossip about how strong or distant you've become. But here's the secret. Your distance is protection. Your strength is fire forged. They pretend your glow is arrogance when really it's armor. They act like your healing made you cold. But the truth is, it made you clear. You don't play nice with dysfunction anymore. You don't water down your spirit just to make others feel secure in their illusions. You walked through pain they avoid, and now your presence makes them nervous. Why? Because you reflect everything they're still running from. You're no longer a victim of your past. You're the architect of your future. That fire inside you? It didn't come from comfort. It came from survival. So own it. Let them keep pretending their wounds don't exist. You faced yours and turned them into power. And now, chosen one, they're not whispering because you broke. They're whispering because you're unbreakable. And that's exactly what terrifies them. Number 10. Be careful who you love. They're not falling for you. They're collapsing in your reflection. Chosen one, the love you radiate isn't casual. It's cosmic. It's not sweet words or surface-level affection. It's truth in raw form. You don't just make people feel seen. You make them confront who they really are. And that's not love to the unhealed. That's a threat. They're not falling for you. They're falling into the mirror your presence holds up. Because when you love with depth. You love with vision. You love with energy that peels back layers they never dared touch. And for many, that kind of love feels like exposure. Most people aren't ready to be known that deeply. They crave affection that comforts their lies, not love that burns away illusions. You walk into their lives, and suddenly their coping mechanisms don't work anymore. You awaken the parts they've buried. They confuse that awakening with obsession, with chaos, with fear, and then they say you were too intense. But no, chosen one, you weren't intense. You were accurate. They didn't want your love. They wanted your energy, the healing, the warmth, the certainty. But when they realized they couldn't fake their way through your frequency, they broke, not because you harmed them, but because your clarity refused to let their shadows hide. So guard your love. Protect it like a sacred flame. Give it only to those who aren't afraid of truth. Because your love doesn't flatter. It transforms, and only the real ones survive that kind of heat. You weren't sent to be adored, you were sent to awaken, and some hearts, they'd rather sleep. Number 11. Control the echo. You're not just speaking anymore, you're sending shockwaves through the system. Chosen one, your voice doesn't echo because it's loud. It echoes because it's real. It cuts through the noise like a siren in a storm. And lately, the system is trembling because of it. You're not just speaking anymore. You're transmitting, and they feel it. Even the ones who pretend not to. You used to be overlooked, talked over, silenced. But something changed. Your words got heavier, not because you shouted louder, but because your energy evolved. Now when you speak, people pause, eyes shift. The room recalibrates. That's not coincidence, that's spiritual pressure. You're not a voice in the crowd, you're a vibration, one that hits the soul, not just the ears. And that's why they whisper about you when you leave. You've become unforgettable, unignorable, unmistakable. You say what others only dare to think. You expose illusions with surgical clarity, and those built on comfort and control, they can't stand it. They used to call you intense. Now they say they just get it. Because your clarity doesn't comfort, it confronts. And that makes you dangerous to every fake structure built on manipulation, silence, and fear. But here's your power. You don't need validation. You don't chase microphones. Your presence is the platform. Your insight is the revolution. So speak with precision, move with restraint, and watch how even your silence becomes scripture to those still trying to decode your mind. You've become the echo that haunts their lies and the signal that wakes up the sleepers. So no, you're not just speaking, you're shifting the atmosphere, and they can't mute a frequency that was divinely tuned. Number 12. Let them watch. Their silence is just the funeral. March for every lie they spoke about you. Let them watch. Chosen one. That silence you hear, it isn't peace. It's panic disguised as stillness. The very same mouths that once spread lies about you now have nothing left to say. Not because they've run out of stories, but because every false word they spoke just got buried under your truth. This silence, it's not absence, it's surrender. You were never meant to argue with rumors. You were built to outlive them. And now you are. You're becoming everything they swore you'd never be. Focused, sharp, unshaken. They tried to define you with gossip, but the universe gave you something louder, proof. Your results, your clarity, your rise, it speaks for itself. And it's silencing entire rooms. The same people who laughed now linger, who mocked now mimic, who judged now journal your every move. You don't need revenge. You became the revelation. You made every rumor irrelevant just by becoming undeniable. Let that land. Their silence? That's not respect, it's regret. Because they realize now that you were never the problem. You were the prophecy, the one they couldn't label, the one they couldn't shake. And now that you've stepped into the frequency of your intelligence, your intuition, and your impact, they've got no choice but to fall silent and stare. So walk, unbothered, strategic, elevated. Let them witness what grace looks like when it grows teeth. Because this is your era. And those whispers, they've turned into eulogies for every version of you they tried to bury. Keep rising. Let them watch. Their silence is just the sound of your name becoming legacy. And so, chosen one, let this be your reminder. When the noise dies down and all that's left is your presence, that's when the truth hits the hardest. Their silence isn't peace. It's proof they've been defeated by everything they said you'd never become. Let them whisper. Let them wonder. You were never made to be understood by the weak. You were made to be remembered by the wise. If this message resonated with your soul, hit that like button, subscribe for more, and drop "I see through it all" in the comments to claim your clarity. Your rise is just beginning.